So let's go into Photoshop. Introduction to Photoshop. When we talk about Photoshop, what comes to your mind? Everybody will say Photoshop is a designing software. Everybody will say Photoshop is for photo editing. So these are all correct answers. But let's look at the meaning or function of Photoshop. Photoshop, as we all know, is an editing software, where it's a software. Primary objective of Photoshop. We use Photoshop software to change and manipulate images. This is often done to improve or enhance an image within certain guidelines that we specify in photojourney. Photojournalists usually only make certain changes in an image, such as cropping, dodging, blurring, color correction, toning, and resolution. So this was the primary objective of Photoshop. So when they first created Photoshop, as we all know, it was not modding, right? It was basically for photo editing, and these are common things they need to do in Photoshop because they have photographer and they need media software to help with editing picture, cropping picture, with doing color correction, tuning and setting resolution on images. So Photoshop was created primarily for that purpose. And then the next one is the modern Photoshop, the one we all eager to learn, we all eager to use. So Adobe now, Adobe Photoshop is a graphic Adobe Photoshop is a graphic editing program or image editing software. So it still carry two valuable resources. Is a graphic editing program and is an image editing software. So you'll see photo studio people using Photoshop, graphic designers using Photoshop. So these are the two, they still carrying the two value that allow you to create and manipulate visual images on your computer. So all the visual images, if you just take picture on your camera, you can manipulate it, you can edit it, you can crop it, you can increase the resolution, and then you can also change the image background, make it smooth, and do other manipulation on it. And then the editing feature the editing feature in the program help you create and manage visual images for internet, print, or other new media display. To begin creating Photoshop projects, start with Photoshop CSS and follow these steps. Okay, so Photoshop CSS was one of the first or most popular Adobe. Probably it might have been the first Adobe Photoshop software, but it's actually out of fashion now because it was way back, way back, way back. So modern Photoshop now allows every user now to use a feature for editing, to use editing software in Adobe Photoshop now for creating, managing visual images for print or internet. So the images you are going to work with, you can either print it or you post it on internet or other social media platforms that you have. So modern Photoshop allows everyone to what uh, to manipulate images and then to edit graphics images too. So everything is embedded in Photoshop. That's what make it big and important, right? So you'll notice, as I said previously, the photo studio people don't have anything to do with graphics, and then probably the graphic people don't have much to do with photo editing in Photoshop. So there's a big difference in the software. The primary objective of Photoshop is still growing. When you open the next page is your workspace. When you open your workspace, let's say you open Photoshop, you are confronted with this page. But firstly, let's because before you reach to that page, you see this, you have to set your image size. You have to set your image size. So this frame rate you are seeing right here is basically CSS image size frame. So this is not how the modern Photoshop looks like. Or if you open the Photoshop file, you'll see how the modern one looks. But just for manual presentation and clear understanding on how best you can be able to set or understand everything, you will be using this. So when working on image in Photoshop, you must first properly size the image depending on the media discipline you are using. Okay, so this is important. Before you open Photoshop, you must firstly know the size of your workspace or the size of your image you want to create depending on the media discipline. That means that before you open Photoshop or you say you want to design something, know firstly if you printing this thing or you posting it on Facebook. So these are major media discipline, right? So either you posting it on social media or you posting it on website or you printing it. So if you printing it, print discipline means that there are guidelines for print. There are various sizes. There are various sizes for social media. There are various sizes for website. So you should be able to understand the discipline of the specific image you are going to use. What are you going to use it for? So you will see that people will do a particular design and they want print the design. It can fit on what they want print it on. Or people will do design and they want post the design in Facebook with crop it or Instagram with crop the design. These are major problems because they didn't follow the media discipline that requires for the particular image they want to do. And then the next one is what this is specifically important due to image varying on the web or print use. As I said previously, larger image on website will actually slow the website down, making it difficult for viewers to see the content. Larger images are used for print in order to ensure their details are visual image. The detail of your visual image is presented. So the size you will use when you printing is different from the size you use when you posting images. So when you printing, you sometimes you use inches, sometimes you use feet, depending on how big you want that particular work you've done. If you're printing banner, you'll be using feet that bigger sizes. So you'll be using feet uh, for print discipline depending if you're printing banner or you'll be using A4, A3, you'll be using poster sheet 16, 19, 15 and other different sizes. So if you printing you will use bigger size and then if you posting it online you use smaller size. It will better understand what or how to use these sizes. So on the left side where you get image size, let's get a clear understanding here. So the first area is the adjustment bar where you see the width, adjust height. This is where you set the width and the height of your particular workspace you want to create or the particular image you want to create. And then this is the scene document area and then you'll be confronted with resolution, setting a resolution and other. We'll talk about it in open Photoshop. This is the first part we'll talk about in open Photoshop. I just want you to know that it's important to know the size of your media discipline, right? To know what size of image you want to create. Okay, so let's come back here. So the menu bar, once you already set your image size, and then the next place you see is this place, your workspace. So up here, the first line up here where you see file, edit, layer, tab, select, filter, 3D, view, windows, help. This is your menu bar. And then under A is the option bar. The left side here is the toolbar, and here on the right is the panel bar. So everything you see on the right as panel, layer panel, adjustment panel, color panel, status panel. So everything on the left are the panels. Uh, the panel bar just help with basic shortcut that you can use more more frequently while you designing. And then the option bar, let's see what this bar actually means or explain. Oh, sure. Okay. So the toolbar uh, provides access to variety of tools with multiple image editing functions. These tools typically fall under the category of drawing, painting, measuring, navigation, selection, typing, and retouching. Some tools contain a small triangle in the bottom right corner of the tool icon. This tool can be expanded to reveal similar tools. So if you open your Photoshop on the toolbar, it's saying that the toolbar hosts multiple image editing functions, and then the type of tools Photoshop has, it can be categorized for drawing, painting, measuring, navigation, and selection, and typing, and even retouching. So on the toolbar, you'll find all these categories there. You'll find typing tools, you'll find retouch tool, you'll find selection tools, you'll find navigation tool, you'll find measuring tool, you'll find painting tool like the the brush tool, and then drawing tool like the pen tool, selection tool like the quick selection, typing like text tool, retouch like smooth the smooth tool. So you find these two on the toolbar. Again, there's a small triangle there that reveals similar to, we'll talk about that. And then the option bar. The option bar, the option bar works in your in coordination. Sorry, I go again. The option bar. It works in coordination with your toolbar to provide additional settings for the tool you are currently using. The option bar changes according to whichever tool you are using. So you should know this. Any tool you select on the toolbar, the option bar will change. Any tool you select on the toolbar, the option bar will change. So the option bar provides additional setting for that particular tool. So you're working with tool. Sometimes the tool you want to make the tool shape big or small, or reduce the opacity, or do this or do that. It provides additional setting for that tool you selected. And then the menu bar. The menu bar contains menu for performing common tasks or consists of 11 menu options. The file, edit, image, layer, tab as I named them, with filter, 3D view, windows. It help menu contain the menu item containing the eclipse and indicate that a dialog box will follow that option. Menu items with the arrow indicate a submenu for that particular option. And then the panel bar. The panel bar helps you monitor or modify your work, provide group of functionality specific to contain tool or tasks. You can create a custom workspace by moving and manipulating the panel bar. So explaining this, as I said, the 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 menu bar, this is the menu bar here. So the menu bar, so this is the menu bar here. The menu bar holds all these various menu, file, edit, images, and then this menu bar has sub menu. If you come to file, you'll see that file has another sub menu under file, and then image has another menu under image that you can use to manipulate images or to save document or to work on layer or text and other stuff. And then the panel bar here, it provides additional settings to manipulate layers or images. So the layer bar, every single thing you add to your Photoshop workspace will be stored on the layer bar. Sorry for the interruption. So this is the panel bar. The panel bar holds various panels, and then you, as I said from the note here, it provides group of functionalities specific for certain tool or tasks. You can create a custom workspace by moving or manipulating the panel bar. So most of the time you'll be faced in where because the panel bar is not static, you can move it to any place you want to move. So most of the time, for designer, they can just make mistake and just scatter the whole panel bar till they don't know how to arrange it. But we'll solve this problem as we go. We open the Photoshop. So that was just what we talked about already. And then color mode. So as we all know the two type of color mode, RGB and CMYK. So how to set color mode in Photoshop is very important to establish your color mode based on the media discipline you are using. Each media output, computer screen, printer, etc. interpret color differently. So it's important to be able to set your color mode for the output to understand it. So this is important. As important as the size of your work is important that you as a designer also make your color mode very precise. If, as we know, we use RBG, red, blue, green, for digital media for online or electronic devices. So for online, where and then we use CMYK for printing. So if you understand that you are printing a particular work you doing in Photoshop, you set the color mode. Probably you can set it before or after you are done with the work. You can set it before you done with the work or after you are done with the work. So if you are doing this particular flyer and you think that you're not printing, so you want to post it or you want to use it for presentation for computer screen, phone, etc. TV. So you will set the color mode to RGB, red, blue, green. So uh, the computer, phone, and smart user. So this color mode you see on your computer is the RGB. That's why you see it's clear and visible. And then the computer or smart devices understand RGB different from CMYK. So the printer, only the printer can understand the type of color mode. And then the printer doesn't really understand RGB color mode. Working with layer. A Photoshop layer is like a sheet of transparent film, similar to the ones we use for our overhead projector. Okay. So when we're looking at Photoshop layout, we say we should think of it like see-through plastic. Photoshop layout, we should think of it as see-through plastic, transparent plastic that you can use as your layer. And then this transparent plastic, anything you place on it, it accept it. Anything that you place on the transparent plastic, it accept it, or and then it either reflect it or it hold it as it is, right? So when you start fitting layer together, you'll be able to see through the transparent part and not able to see through the part with content. You can move, rotate, manipulate a single layer without affecting any other layer. You can also change the opacity or transparency on one layer to make content partially visible. So on the layer bar, you you are able to make one layer transparent, you are able to rotate or move one layer, you are able to manipulate one layer. These are all practical stuff that we'll be doing. So I just thought about explaining it first. So when we're doing it, it will not look strange to you. Or when we're talking about it, it will not be strange to you. Okay, because this is actually twofold into explanation. If we explain it here, we have to go explain it in Photoshop real life again. So you just pay attention to it. So when you think about layer as see-through plastic. If you place something on a see-through plastic where in one side is transparent and one side is not transparent, you'll see that the transparent side you'll still be seeing through it, and then the other side you will not be seeing through it, right? That's how the Photoshop layer works. So if you put a PNG image that doesn't have background, or they remove the background of that particular image and then only the person there, so you see that all the other part of the picture will be transparent still, and then only the other part that contain the image will not be transparent. So this is how the layers or layer in Photoshop work. So if you put a full if you put a full uh if you put a full page on that particular layer, it will cover up the layer. So you should understand this. And then the layer panel consists of various areas, and it's important you understand each area. So for A, you see A, this area here is the layer button, the layer menu, and we'll see what the layer menu does. And then this area B is the filter option. So this to kind, you have to choose the type of filter you want or use, but it's normally at kind. And then C is blending mode. How you want a particular layer to blend in another layer. How you want a particular layer to blend in another layer. So C is the blending mode. And then D is master opacity. So as this node said, you can change the opacity or transparency of one layer to make the content partially visible. So this is what the opacity does. So it can increase the transparency of one layer and make it partially visible or fully visible. And then E is the lag control. So sometimes you working with a particular layer, but like let's say the background layer, because the background layer is lagged. So the layer is lagged because they don't want you to disturb the background, or probably you delete it, or maybe you do different thing with it. So as the background layer is lagged, you all the thing that you do in this workspace, it will not really affect the background, right? And then you can lock and your own layer right here. You can lock your own layer that you add there. Probably you now want to for it to be affected with what you're doing, or you now want it selected almost all the time. You'll see how that works. And then for F is the fill opacity. So the fill opacity is just work as the same as uh, the opacity. So opacity is just the general transparency of a particular layer, and then the fill opacity it works mainly with text layer. So if you read a particular text, let's say we read this text here, and then we want to decrease the transparency of the text, but we just want the inside part of the text, the inside part of all the text to be transparent, and then we still won't be having the border around it. So the fill opacity works in that way. The fill opacity helps to do such way. But if you use the opacity and you reduce the transparency for this layer, everything will reduce together. And if you use the fill, only the inside of this will be affected. So you should know that. And then G. The G is the eye you see here. The G is the eye, or no, the G is the active layer. So the layer that has the blue, if you see on your layer panel, open Photoshop, the the layer that is having the current blue, that is blue leg, is the selected layer or active layer. And then H is group. Sometimes you really want group layers so that you can be able to move them together. So you can group the 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 layers together. You can group it. And then I is the layer thumbnail. So sometimes you having multiple layers. Let's say you having all the layer in some of the layer can be small. Let's say you having icons here, example location icon right here, and you look the time you take, or maybe if there's no layer thumbnail, you just see layer 3, you don't know what's layer 3 on your workspace. So they add a smaller picture of the layer you have on your workspace so that it can appear on your layer panel as thumbnail, so that when you see it, you already know what they say on your workspace or how they say look on your workspace. So that's the layer thumbnail. And then J is the layer name. So each image or everything you put in Photoshop, it comes with a particular name, and then you can rename that particular name that is in Photoshop, that particular layer name, you can rename it in Photoshop. And then K, K is the showing high. This I, the I mean the I as it means C and we see. So if you click the eye, is either it hide the layer or it reveal the layer. So that's how this show or hide layer works. And then L is the lock layer. That's L. So L, as I said, is the lock layer area. So if the layer is locked, you will see the lock icon on it. Then M is the background layer. Always, anytime you open Photoshop, the background layer is always there. Is the background layer, is the first layer. And then N is a shortcut down here. N is a shortcut to link layer. If I'll show you how to link layer. So you can link two layers. for it to work together. If you link two layer, it means you want it to move together. It is almost like grouping a layer, but it's not grouping layer. Alright. So and then O is for layer star. Layer star. That their functionality, but we'll see what it does. And then P is for our layer max. And Q is to Q adjustment to add new adjustment on a particular layer. So I'll show you how it does, what it does too. So this one, if you see it in Photoshop, is for adjustment, and then arrow for group, S for new layer, and then T to delete layer. So you can, if you select any of these layer, you come here to the delete icon, you can delete the layer, and then you can add new layer, you can group layer, you can add adjustment layer to your layer panel. So the layer menu give additional command and option, and then the filter help you to find key layer, in a complex document quickly, and then the blending mode control how layer react with one another, master opacity, control and opacity of the layer. And then lagging control allow you to lag various part of the layer to prevent editing. So anytime you want prevent a particular layer from editing, you use the lagging or the lag stuff, the lagging control. And then the fill opacity controls just the fill opacity of the layer, not the stroke. So we'll see example of it. If you set stroke to a particular text or shape or layer, you can use the fill opacity to adjust the opacity or the transparency of only the layer, not the stroke around the border around it. When you are working on a particular layer, it becomes active, right? So if the active layer, with O, and then layer thumbnail show a smaller view of just that layer, okay? And then the layer name can be changed, as I said, to help you organize and maintain your layers. So you should change your layer names, and then the showing how layer makes a layer visible and invisible. And then lock icon will appear on any locked layer. Background layer is the bottommost layer in your panel. The link layer link multiple layers so you can move the content in them together. And then layer style add effect, the drop shadow and then borders and bold. And so if you add shadow, you add layer mask and color overlay, you want to do other special editing to a particular layer, you use the layer style like FX for layer style. And then add layer mask allows control of particular pixel that you select within the layer. Okay. And then new adjustment layer provide image adjustment to all visible layer under them. Then new group, the group layers together to help you organize and manage them. So if you doing work and you finish with all your background, you select all the background layer and then you group them background. All your text layer, you select all of them and you name them front. And then all your image layer, you select all of them and name them image. So that your work can be organized and managed properly, so you can understand where to go when you want to make certain adjustment. So we add new layer, name your layer, or you click OK. If you no longer want a layer, you just delete it. So if you no longer one or particular layer, you just delete that layer.